Dear students, we have a portrait of the artist as a young man, chapter 2, section 1. You remember our uh, Stephen. Here we have the map of chapter 2. We have him in Black Rock showing you his daily routine in section 1. And there are the hints of financial trouble by his father and his escape into literature, reading Count of Monte Cristo and admiring Mercedes and his first crush after Elaine, of course. So, in section 2, we have him moving to Dublin, a new city that caused him to have new attitudes towards things in life, especially he has epiphanies towards understanding women and how he is attracted to them, and literature, how he starts writing his first love poem, and a very um small hints of his relationship with his father. In section 3, we see him as a love, in love with literature and poets, and accused of being a heretic. In section 4, he travels to Cork with his father, and it shows you his isolation and his bad relationship with his father, ending with section 5, with the prize money that he spends on his family, but with no luck. He discovers that religion did not feed his anger or his hunger. Money was not good for him. Family is not there for him. Friends are not there for him. Literature is still missing. He wants something stronger. His love for women develops into lust, and he turns into he goes into the hands of a prostitute. So in chapter 2, we have it ends with an adult Stephen. Okay. So the chapter starts, of course, with fire in the shape of smoking. Uncle Charles is smoking a black a twist, which is a kind of tobacco. He just smokes like a chimney. And it smells like gunpowder, by God. So they dedicate a place for Uncle Charles in the garden to smoke. He calls it the arbor. And he sits with Stephen all the morning. During the first part of summer at the Black Rock, Uncle Charles was Stephen's consistent companion. And now he's describing Uncle Charles as being old man with well tanned skin, rigid features, and white side whiskers. They used to make errands to the markets, and he would seize a handful of grapes and give them grapes and apples and give them into the grandnephew's hands, while the shopman smiled uneasily. And he told him, take them, sir. Do you hear me? It's good for your bowels. So, the first person he spends his summer is with Uncle Charles. The second one, we have Micah Flynn, who is during after morning, he meets him in the park to train him running. He's his running coach. He runs in a strange way, and although he his father tells him that he trained a lot of great athletes, Stephen doesn't trust that, because when he glances to his trainer's flabby, stubble covered face, and his stained fingers from tobacco and cigarettes, he doesn't really trust that this man is going to take him anywhere in sports. Although, in reality, James Joyce is a very athletic a person. You have to know that. He's excellent in cricket. He had many cups, he had many championships. That's why you remember the imagery pick, pock, pock. is very strong because it's part of his life. He's extremely athletic, unlike the character that he's uh, picturing here. So it's important to know that although the novel is autobiographical, it means it's giving many parts of James Joyce's life, but not all parts are true. Some parts are fictional for some reason. Okay, so uh, during the evenings, our evenings are for him. So he spent the evenings. I forgot something important I missed here. During Sundays, he used to walk with his father and Uncle Charles. Their main topic was, of course, Irish politics. He used to listen to them eagerly, knowing that someday he's going to play a role in Irish politics. Okay, so he befriends a boy whose name is uh, no, before we read that. He reads it every evening. Mercedes is the heroine of Conte Monte Cristo. He acts the battles. And on their way home, Uncle Charles would pay a visit to the chapel. This is very important because Uncle Charles goes to the church every day and takes Stephen with him. And he dips, Uncle Charles dips his hands in the holy water and sparkles the water on Stephen's clothes and on the floor. But Stephen doesn't like that water. Again, water imagery. And while he prayed, he knelt on his red handkerchief, although he shared his respect, but he did not share his piety, which means that here Stephen is uh, acting the act, but not he's not believing in religion. He often wondered why his uncle prayed for so seriously. Why is he praying? So he gives reason why people should pray. Perhaps he prayed for the souls in purgatory, or for the grace of a happy death, or perhaps he is praying God to bring him back the money that he lost. That's his Uncle Charles. Okay. During his evening, he reads Conte Monte Cristo. I've posted you the entire movie. You can watch it. Although the movie is not like the novel, it has different ending because in the novel we don't have the Conte Monte Cristo ending with Mercedes. He just leaves her as he leaves everyone who think betrayed him. It's better not to know it. It's better to see the movie than not to know the novel as a whole. It's a very beautiful novel about a man. You can read the PowerPoint and know who is Edmond Dantes. It's very important to know the story of Count de Monte Cristo, to know how significant it is to Daedalus, and why does he love the character, why he is attracted to Mercedes. I want you to read all of this in details. So his evenings were his own, and he pored over a ragged translation of Conte Monte Cristo. The figure of that dark avenger stood forth in his mind, for whatever he had heard or divined in childhood of strange and terrible. At night, he would build up on a parlor table an image of a wonderful island cave out of transfers and paper flowers and colored tissue paper and strips of the silver and gold paper in which chocolate is wrapped. When he had broken up the scenery, weary of his stencil, there would come to his mind the bright picture of Mercedes, of Sunny, Mercedes. This is important because Mercedes here for him is going to develop to be the perfect woman, the symbol of a beauty. Okay, outside Blackrock on the road, they led to the mountains stood a small whitewash house. Notice the colors. White house in a garden. of which grew many rose bushes. In this house, he told himself, another Mercedes lived, both on the outward, on the way home journey. This is not important. I want you to pay attention that he always imagined that she's going to meet Mercedes in such a garden during night, and instead of acting all loving and no, he's the dark revenger as the Edmond Dantes. He said, "Madame, I never eat muscatel." Okay, what does he mean here? Because the Count of Monte Cristo is betrayed by all of his friend. He doesn't eat at anyone's house, especially at the houses of his enemy. That although Mercedes, with all her beauty, he's not going to eat in her house. He loves that image of a man refusing a woman out of his strength, but unfortunately, Stephen is not that strong. So, Stephen here is just comparing himself with the Conte Monte Cristo because he is imprisoned, just like Edmund, in a place where he cannot escape his trouble. He meets a new boy. His name is Aubrey Mills. He helps him escape the ugly reality by acting out scenes from Conte Monte Cristo. He's living a friendship that we have never seen with Stephen. All the boys that he mentioned are either bullies and or people he doesn't even talk to. Aubrey is the first person that we see as a friend. So, he here is understanding that his father has a huge financial problems, and this is shocking his boyhood. So every time he feels frustrated, what does he do? He returned to Mercedes. As he brooded upon her image, a strange unrest crept into his blood. Sometimes a fever gathered within him and led him to rove alone in the evening along a quiet avenue. The peace of the gardens and the kindly light in the windows poured a tender influence into his restless heart. Okay, the noise of children at play annoyed him, and their silly voices made him feel even more keenly than he had felt at Clungos that he was different from others. He did not want to play. He wanted to meet in the real world the unsubstantial image which his soul so constantly beheld. He did not know where to seek it or how, but a premonition which led him on told him that this image would, without any overt act of his own, encountered him. They would meet quietly as they had known each other and had made their trust. Look, this is a very, very important quotation. Here, he's telling you that Mercedes, every time he has confusion or problems, he just turns to Mercedes and broaden about her image. He's not a child anymore because he looks at children and he's annoyed by them. He calls their voices silly, and he calls them noise. Yes. Okay. So he's not a child. He's fascinating about a woman, and this in the blue is very important. They would be alone, he and Mercedes. They would be alone, surrounded by darkness and silent, and in that moment of supreme tenderness, he would be transfigured. The idea of a transfiguration, transformation, metamorphosis takes us to Ovid, the one who wrote the epigraph that who used James Joyce. Very good. So here we have the theme. He wants to be transformed, changed to something else, and he thinks that Mercedes is going to change him, transfigure him. He would fade into something impalpable under her eyes, and then in a moment he would be transfigured. Okay, what does he want to change about himself? Weakness. and timidity and inexperience would fall from him in that magic moment. He wants weakness, timidity, and inexperience to fall from him. And he thinks women, represented by Mercedes, is going to do that to him. Okay, so we have him in chapter 1 hoping to be transfigured through women. This is very important because at the end of chapter 2, he's going to be transfigured by a woman. Unfortunately, not Mercedes, but by a prostitute. So, thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next video.